Jane, a 20-year-old maid with soft brown hair and a faded light blue dress, held a basket of linen in one hand and kept a watchful eye on Lady Eleanor's daughter, little Clara. Jane smiled faintly. She had barely slept. Chores kept her awake half the night, but Clara's laughter made the world a little warmer. "Don't go too far, my lady," she warned softly, trying to fold a cloth that had fallen into the frost. But children never listen long. Clara climbed the edge of the marble fountain, trying to catch the butterfly that danced just beyond her reach. Jane turned her back for only a moment, kneeling to pick up the doll Clara had dropped earlier. A shriek pierced the air. Jane spun around, just in time to see Clara slip the little girl's hand grasp the cold marble for an instant before she fell. Within seconds, guards rushed in. "Get the physician," Jane cried, her voice shaking. But then came Lady Eleanor's voice, sharp, trembling with horror. "What have you done?" The lady knelt beside her daughter, tears already welling, and when she looked up at Jane, her face was pale with fury. "You were meant to watch her, not let her fall like some street urchin's child." "It was an accident, my lady," Jane sobbed. "I only looked away for a moment." She knelt on the stone floor, head bowed, while Lady Eleanor sat tall upon her carved oak chair, her eyes red but merciless. "The child could have died," the lady's voice rang out. "A single moment of carelessness, and my bloodline would have ended in the dirt." Jane lifted her head slightly. "Please, my lady. I never meant harm." Clara slipped. She was reaching. "Enough," interrupted the old steward, a man of law more than heart. He opened a scroll and read aloud, "By decree of the household code, any servant who endangers the life of nobility through neglect shall be disciplined publicly, that others may learn diligence and respect." Jane's lips parted, disbelief flooding her face. "Please, not in front of everyone." The courtyard was filled with people, stable boys, cooks, chambermaids, guards, all gathered under the grey sky. The fountain where Clara had fallen stood not far away, now frozen solid. Jane's blue dress fluttered weakly in the wind as the guards pushed her forward. The steward's voice boomed, "For neglecting her duty to the noble child, Jane the maid shall receive correction before all present." She was ordered to lie down on the cold cobblestones. The ground bit into her skin as she pressed her face against it, tears already freezing on her cheeks. "Hold still," a guard muttered, though his tone was almost gentle. Then came the sound of a cane slicing the air. The first strike landed across her back. Jane gasped, her cry echoing through the silent courtyard. The pain burned like fire, radiating through her body. The second strike fell, then the third. Each one sharper than the last. The cold stone beneath her only made the pain crueler, seeping into her bones. Some servants turned away, unable to watch. Others forced themselves to stand still, faces pale with fear. Above her, snow kept falling soft and indifferent, covering her hair, her torn sleeves, the ground stained by her tears. By the 10th strike, Jane could barely breathe. The steward finally spoke, "Let this be a lesson to all who forget their duty." The guards stepped back. The crowd began to disperse. Jane lay motionless for a moment, her body trembling. That evening, Jane was brought into the hall again, her back bandaged, her hands shaking. Lady Eleanor stood beside the fireplace, her daughter asleep in her arms. "Speak," said the lady coldly. Jane lowered her head. "Forgive me, my lady. I failed to protect your child. I will bear my punishment as just." That night, Jane was sent to the servant quarters. Then she felt a small hand touch hers. She turned and saw Clara, her face pale but smiling weakly, holding a blanket. "I'm sorry, Jane," the little girl whispered. "I shouldn't have climbed. Mama's still angry, but I know it wasn't your fault." Jane's eyes filled again, but this time with warmth. She pulled the child close. "Hush, my dear. You're safe, that's all that matters." The next morning, the courtyard stood empty again. The snow had covered every mark, every sign of what had happened except for one. A faint trace of blood remained near the fountain's edge, frozen in the cracks of the stone. Lady Eleanor stood at her window, staring down. Her daughter laughed in the distance, chasing her nurse through the garden, her arm wrapped in cloth. The lady touched the glass. She could still hear Jane's trembling voice, her words of apology. For the first time, guilt crept into her heart like winter wind through an open door. In the courtyard below, something blue caught her eye, a torn ribbon from Jane's dress, fluttering softly against the snow. Lady Eleanor whispered to herself, perhaps mercy froze before justice ever came. The wind carried the sound away, and the courtyard fell silent once more, cold, timeless, and waiting for another soul to break beneath its stones.